Hey up, Nolan here with another Wonderlands video. Today I'm going to share with you the main build I use. It's a Mistdancer build, so both the Stabbo and the Spore Warden classes. I'm calling it the Tesla Blade. With this build you don't have to worry about any major nerfs. In fact, Executioner's Blade has had about 3 buffs to it already, so I think you're safe in that department. Now then, the thing that makes this build so good is the speed in which tasers proc gun damage, and Executioner's Blade proccing massive damage with no cooldowns from your melee weapon, and the ability to double dip in all procs with the correct armor piece, as well as the amulet I'll be using, meaning you'll never need to reload or wait for tasers to recharge. Before I get into the setup, please consider dropping a like and subscribing, as it will help me out massively. I mean, just look at my companion's name. Anyways, moving on to the skills. So we're going to drop 5 points in Arsenal for the great mix of damage and increase to melee, as well as in Potent Potions and Exploit for the status damage and the weaken effects. And then you want to drop a couple in Fingers so we can unlock Sneak Attack for the huge increase to crit damage, which will be very important. Then max out Contagion with Agent to get elemental damage proc damage. And of course you want the bread and butter of this build, the Stabbo Capstone Executioner's Blade. For the Spore Warden you're going to want Eagle Eye, Bullseye, which is the most important. That gives you a massive increase to crit chance, as well as Affinity, as it will help with your ammo regeneration. And if you have a spare point left, you can put it in the Mushroom Revive skill, which will be quite useful. So the main gun you'll be using is the Queen's Cry, as we'll be using it for its taser attachment. Now be aware it can also drop with micro missiles, so it might require a bit of farming, as well as you want to try and get the ×2 variant, as it will shoot 2 tasers at once. This is very important as you'll be doubling your total DPS, and make sure to try and have this attachment as well, as it will give you a nice increase when you're invisible, which is very important for bossing. For rings, I like the Sharkalescence ring. So this basically gives you a rotating elemental effect every time you cause melee damage, and because it's melee damage and not melee attack, it procs with Executioner's Blade, so each time that blade swings down it'll add a extra 15% bonus damage on top, which is really good for this build. And you're free to pick what you want for your next ring really. I went for gun damage because it's a primordial and I was testing it out, but realistically, if you can get a primordial melee ring, which I don't have yet, use that, so you're free to choose really. Next up is the Corrupted Plate Mail. Now this is equally important because it will apply another damage tick to all your damage, and this will proc Executioner's Blade on top of all your other ways of proccing it. So we're shooting 2 tasers out, each one of them will proc, but then each one of them will have another proc hidden behind it, so you have 4 times proc with each shot of taser. And for the spell, Buffmeister. Pretty self-explanatory, but you want to go for the one with the bonk skill, with the bonk reading. This will increase melee damage when you activate it. And for the amulet, Universal Soldier. So because Executioner's Blade is classed as melee damage, each time that hits you'll have a 30% chance to regain all your ammo, and because you can't manually reload tasers, it will still apply when you proc. So you have a 30% chance, but you'll have that many Executioner's Blades dropping down pretty much every time there's a group of enemies or you're firing lots of tasers. You'll always regen your ammo. It also takes the ammo from your inventory, but because it's classed as because it's a pistol, you'll have lots of ammo anyway. And finally, the ward, I gone with the body rune, but I'm still experimenting with what works best. I like this particularly because every time you get a kill for a few seconds, I think it's about 5 to 8 seconds, all damage you deal will deal fire damage on top of it. This doesn't add any extra tick damage, so it won't proc Executioner's Blade. I've already tested it. It would have been great if it did, but apparently, sadly it doesn't. But for now, I'm using this. If you find anything better, please let me know in the comments actually, be appreciated. But anyway, moving on. To wrap the gear up, obviously it'll be the melee weapon, as Executioner's Blade will scale depending on whatever melee weapon you're holding. It only scales from the base damage stat though, and it's typing, so you want the highest damage possible. In this case it'll be the Wailing Banshee, as at the moment it's the highest damaging melee weapon in the game, so you're just going to want to keep farming for it. Luckily I managed to get a primordial one, after farming it for ages. So just keep at it, you'll get it eventually. The attribute distribution you want will be crit damage and status damage, with the rest being in crit chance. I found this seems to offer me the best DPS from this setup at the moment. And with all this, I'll quickly show you le chance not standing a chance. Right, that's it for this Tesla Blade video. If you found it interesting, a like would be appreciated, and it would help me out greatly. Anyway, until next time, have a fantastic day.